There we go.
Good evening. Today is Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. I'd like to call to order our Human Relations Commission. Chair, I would like to request that staff confirmation that the Kansas Open Meeting Act has been properly provided.
Yes, it has.
Okay, and then we'll do roll call.
Chair Kuchel.
Here.
Vice Chair Mai.
Here.
Commissioner Tag Hurd.
Here.
Commissioner Modrow.
Here.
Commissioner Newell.
Here.
Commissioner Kressler.
Here.
Commissioner Zaveski.
Present.
Youth on Board Member Miller.
Here.
Youth on Board Member Smith.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is approval of minutes. So you all have that in your packet. It was sent out earlier also, but we need to approve the minutes from our July 9th regular meeting. You can take a minute to look at that, and then I'll need a motion for approval.
I motion that the minutes be approved. Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. All right, under new business, public hearing items. See none?
No, we have none.
None? Okay. And then administrative items, introduction of new members.
Yes, we just wanted to welcome our Youth on Board members, Grady Smith and Candace Miller. They're joining us and gives us a full house tonight. We still have 2 open vacancies for the adult, the full members, commissioners, but we expect those to be filled at the next meeting. By the next meeting is my understanding.
Okay. Okay. And then next under our administrative items is election of officers for 2024-2025.
Yes, and we provided a staff report just to give everyone kind of a cheat sheet of who is available and names for individuals. And typically people who have not been on the board a full year are not usually up the first term or brand new members for elections. But this board or this commission has 2 positions we fill, a chair and a vice chair. The chair normally runs the meetings and vice chair does the task if the chair is unavailable and sits in for the chair. Eligible for the officer positions, and then there is a requirement. I think you can't be so many times in a row. So we put out in the report who's eligible. So kind of give everyone a little bit of a cheat sheet who is willing and eligible. Everyone that's eligible is willing. And with that, I'll yield to the back to the chair to get this party started.
Right. Okay, well, our recommended action is to select a chair and vice chair to serve until September. So I don't even know how to do this, but I mean,
Does anyone want to nominate someone or someone? Usually it's nominations.
Okay.
Well, I sent my nomination to Marissa that I nominated Sherry for chair.
Okay. And then do I have to get a second for that too?
Yes.
Okay, so
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, well that
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you can continue on with running the meeting for the
Okay.
vice chair as our next election.
I would be happy to do that. Thank you. Okay, and then vice chair. So I'd need a nomination for that.
Were there any nominations
Sent in.
Yeah, I had somebody nominate Brenda Mai for vice chair.
Okay.
I second that.
Okay. Who was the first, so we can write that for the record?
It was Brenda.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a second for that. So all those in favor of Brenda Mai continuing as our vice chair, aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, congratulations, Brenda.
Yes.
We're done after this. Yeah, we can pass it on. Awesome. Okay, anything else with that we need to do?
No. I
Perfect.
think we have our chairs elected or our chair and vice chair till September 2025.
Okay, fantastic. All right, staff report 2023-24 year in review.
Yes, and for the record, for those of you, and I'm not sure if the youth on board were able to get access the packets that everyone's referring to. Did you receive those? So in the packet, we usually have the consistent things. This report isn't always in there, but for the end of the year, we did a report, and then we'll also have a report on the cases, and I'll talk a little more about those. For the end of the year, what we have is a contract with HUD called a FAP, a Fair Housing Assistance Program. And it's a cooperative agreement where we are the entity that is able to do investigations on housing discrimination complaints for HUD. So we are acting on behalf of HUD in this jurisdiction, which is just the city of Salina. We don't go beyond that. With that, we have to do end-of-year reporting and a lot of other things for HUD, and we'll go into that a little more in our training that we'll have next time. With that, just so you're aware, we closed 13 cases and opened 13 cases last year. Not exactly the same, because one of those 13 we opened is still pending. But I thought it was interesting, some of our statistics for the first time. It was not, our number one thing was not based on disability. Last year it was, if you'll look at the bottom of the report, in 2023 it was, and historically it's been based on disability, but this year it was actually 30% of the cases involved race or color discrimination, and then sex discrimination was right close to that, and that's just kind of been a change. One of them was familial status, but I just thought it was interesting that our numbers, I think nationwide, it still is disability is the number one complaint that is still being pursued or filed. I'm not sure statistics of how many found probable cause versus not. Usually the only statistic I'm aware of is how many cases are filed under disability, and so we just kind of were against the trend. I haven't heard anything has topped it, just different for us this year. Mm-hmm. So that was an interesting insight. We still have one case pending, but as we'll get to in the report, I think that one will be closed out pretty soon. But I don't know if anyone has any questions about investigations. We're still, majority of our cases this year were settled and didn't come to before the commission for hearing, which is good. That's what everyone encourages is settlement. So I don't know if anyone has any other questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
So we had 13 cases this year. Do you know what we had the year before?
9.
9? Oh.
Yeah, in 2023 there were 9 that we closed. And for HUD's purposes in the agreement, the closings are more important. Like, we get paid after we close them. So the one case that's still pending from 2022 that HUD took over to go to the DOJ, it's still in limbo. We've never received any payment for them. But for them, because the type of closure that you have to affect your payment, and they always like to pay after the work is done. That's the way the federal government works. So with that agreement, that's what we look at. So we track the openings too a little bit, but the closings are where we get our agreement is based upon. We went up a class. Like, normally there's the minimum level, and we're normally the minimum or the next up. We went up another class, which means our administrative reimbursement was more this year because we were in the next level. Once you get to 13, it's a magic number. Huh. It's not an unlucky number for us. It's a good number because that means we're in the next class. We will probably never get to the top 2 levels. In the most they've ever filed in 1 year, they did do 20 cases, but that still puts you in that second tier. We don't ever have the volume that we would anticipate ever getting into the 3rd, 4th, or California tier. California's in a tier all by itself. And I say that, but I mean, their whole state is the FAP. And anyway, they just have a really different, they're in their own league for these kind of cases. But we won't ever reach that. I anticipate if we just get to the 2nd tier, it's a good year for us. So we were excited for Marissa and all her hard work, and Lily and I just kind of support her in this. But we were happy with that. I don't know.
Okay. Any other questions? Great. Okay. And the last administrative item would be our docket review.
Yes, and for the new youth on board, I'll just kind of tell you a little bit. So we do not go into details because of the public nature of this hearing, and most of these are kind of confidential things. I mean, most people don't really want a public hearing about these kinds of issues. So we don't go into detail, but we provide a report that you'll see. It's color-coded, so employment's blue, housing cases are always green, and public accommodations are orange-ish color, whatever, orange rust, whatever. And then we'll go through these just kind of in general, where they are, what the status is. So what will happen, and you'll get some more training on this when we go through the trainings next time. We will just discuss some overview here, but when it's ready to present to the commissioner, we'll send it out to 3 of the sitting commissioners. The youth cannot participate in that part, but it will go out to them, and they will get a full file of all the evidence, and the 3 of them will make a decision whether there's a probable cause finding or a non-probable cause finding for the case to move forward. If there's no probable cause, the case is done and we close it. We can close our file. If there's probable cause found and the parties don't want to settle, it will go to an administrative hearing, and then we will pursue that on behalf of the claimant in the administrative hearing. So this case, their job is to kind of be like a grand jury and to make that decision when we present it. Some cases will settle up and we'll never go to them, or they don't make their way, they settle out before then. But for the most part, once they're ready, 3 of the commissioners will make the decisions and they'll get full evidence. But in this public forum, we just kind of highlight what's coming up, where the cases are falling, and most of the time they're going to mostly be housing. We do not have an agreement with the EEOC, so on employment, to do the same thing that we do on HUD. So we don't get as many for a lot of reasons. A lot of people in doing employment, there's a plethora of reasons for it, but one of the big ones is we don't have that EEOC agreement. The state, KHRC does, and so most people, if they have an employment law case, they're probably going to file with KHRC, because you have to file with the EEOC to get into court and exhaust all your administrative hearings. So long story is, we don't get a ton of employment cases. Most of our cases are housing. Mm-hmm. And we'll get some public accommodation, but a lot of those we settle before they even come here. Most of the time, people will work with us. Even though public accommodation is more than just disability and people not having accessibility to their buildings, that's primarily what we get public accommodation complaints are. People not being accessible, not having accessible parking, not having accessible entry into their buildings, and that's the main one. And most people, when we call them, work with us to get it fixed. And so we don't bring it to the commission if they'll work with us and get it fixed. If they won't work with us, we still have one who's being a little difficult, but for the most part, they do. So you won't see too many public accommodation. And when we do the full-on training, we'll go into more detail what all that means. Okay? So if no other meetings do you attend, I would recommend doing the trainings, because you'll learn the most at those, and those will be our longest meetings. But that said, we have no employment cases right now. We had one that kind of went through a little bit that we helped someone file with the KHRC. We didn't actually bring it to you, and it's off the docket now, so you won't see that, because we switch over. This is we're still kind of on a new docket. We'll run the same docket. You'll see a lot of the same stuff repetitive until we switch our docket year. So this is just now kind of we're starting it fresh. I think we switch out July, end of July is when we close it out for you guys. We just lag time a little bit, and then we didn't have a meeting in August. So this is it's all kind of new and fresh, reset. Housing, we have the one that's still with the Department of Justice since 2022, and no end in sight. We try and occasionally ask our liaison, and he tries to follow up on it. I have no idea. It's sad to me, because I don't even know if they do something, if we'll be able to find everyone that was originally involved. But it's out of our hands. We can't do anything about it. Then we have the one for H8-2324. Expect that very soon. It is in process, and we expect to have it pretty soon. There was another inquiry, but it hasn't materialized yet. And that's kind of where we are with the reset. And then as far as the public accommodations go, I still have the one in progress. We've made a little headway, but we're still not done, and I'm still hopeful we don't have to actually file. But the person's being a little challenging. And that is the extent of this week's report, or this month's report.
Thank you. Okay, preliminary discussion items, I see none. Unfinished or other business, none. Then next would be our public forum, and no one's here. Do we have anyone online?
We do not have anybody online.
Okay, thank you. Well then, we're ready for adjournment. Our next regular meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, October 8th at 5:30.
And I would just add that's when we will do training, since we should have 2 new board members then. That's what I just wanted to, I didn't mean to interrupt, Chair, but I wanted to make sure everyone knew. We'll do the training. I won't be present. But another person from the city, Margie is her name, Margie Clem, will be here to do the overall all board member training that all our boards and commissions have to go through that we've kind of put together, which will be repeat for some of you, but just board etiquette, rules about quora and coma and all those fun rules. And then we're going to ask everyone to watch the videos again. You don't need to do them by next time. But we'll send out the link. She'll have next time you'll be reminded, and then we'll discuss those like we did last time. We'll probably do the quizzes again. We may change up some of the questions, but go over the quizzes then in November.
Okay.
So by October, you should start kind of watching the video trainings on that. That should give you guys some more information about how to review a case and what you're looking for, what we're looking for to do a probable cause determination. And those videos should help. But just so you know, there will be, and we do have to have a quorum for that. And it'll be right after. We always do our study sessions right immediately after this meeting, so it makes them last a little longer. Mm-hmm. And then other than that, I just have one flyer I would share with you all for our upcoming training. The AAB is doing something like we do the Fair Housing Seminar. We are doing an accessibility seminar. If anyone wants to sign up or share or hang these up, it is going to be October 3rd. We're pretty excited about our speakers and our lineup. And if anyone wants to share a file, we would love to have you share it.
Okay, great. Okay, then I need a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.